We are live, guys. Welcome. I got two very special guests. We got Aaron Pynn, aka the Cult of Cinema, also known as Mr. Vinegar Syndrome, right?
Oh yeah,
But
one of many companies the company I followed the longest, I guess.
And then we got Brian, who is the host of the podcast Just the Discs, which I've been listening to you, Brian, well before we became friends and well before I even knew that you had a YouTube channel.
I'm honored, sir. The YouTube is all new. This is only my second live stream, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I found you, I want to say my birthday, which was in January of last year, or around February. I remember just looking for new podcasts, and you were suggested under Blade Licking Thieves, which is like a Eastern movie podcast. They talk about like anything from, China and Japan and Korea. And I clicked it and I was like, man, this guy's voice is very smooth. and then Aaron, I found out you just got suggested to me. I think it was because I subscribed to Serial at Midnight, and you popped up. And you popped up. I think you did a live stream with them, maybe, or something. But like you just got suggested, and I was like, man, this guy again, just like Brian, this guy's voice is smooth. And like Brian was saying off air, when Aaron does a live stream, it is just like, it's real smooth. He answers like almost every question. He's very interactive with the chat. But he
also says hi to everybody as they come in, which is
everybody.
Some people get annoyed with that.
I love it.
I mean, I think it's a really sweet thing to do. Very interactive and shows people that you care. I don't know if I'd be able to do it. That's another reason I'm nervous about doing live streams. Is I'm like, I don't know if I can remember to say hi to everybody as they come in.
I try to, like, I'll say hi to Ice right here. Hey, Ice, how are you?
Yeah.
But I'm sure as we get the actual talk going, tonight we're talking about our favorite boutique Blu-ray releases. We're picking 5 plus 1 honorable mention, and then at the end we're going to say what company we think won 2020. So
I'm just going to preface Flip and just say my list. Since I already recorded my video for this, I tried to give you a little variety. I threw in a couple that aren't in my video and some that are, but my label pick is not going to be reflected by my list at all. And I'll tell you why when we get there.
Okay, and I also want to say this before there's going to be no anime on my list. So most of my audience is manga people and people who like anime, but I do want to give a shout out to Discotech. They are the best boutique Blu-ray label that puts out anime. If I were to put anime in here, this list would be dominated by it. So I did not want to pick anime. I want to just narrow it down to actual films. So Aaron, if you want to do the pleasure of starting off with your honorable mention first.
Honorable mention actually comes from Vinegar Syndrome, which is going to surprise you guys right now. But it is Ruben Galando Jr.'s Cemetery of Terror. I have yet to see the other two because I'm still waiting for them, but I love this movie. This is insane.
Is that part of a trilogy?
It's the same director. Is it like?
Okay.
Have you seen this?
I saw that one, and I liked it quite a bit.
I did. See, I went in kind of blind because I thought I'd seen it and I hadn't. And so we're following these people. Not to give too much away, but the people that I thought were the stars of the movie were not the stars of the movie, and they'd kind of like Friday the 13th reboot it, where they have you follow these characters, and then you're like, well, I guess this person's the star. I'm like, oh no, they're dead. I guess they're not the star. And then I guess it must be this person here. And you're like, who then? And then it turns into a completely different movie. And I really dug this. I really did. There's a couple choices that I would have went for, but look at this. Look at the inside cover. Look at that cheese fest. It is awesome.
that set that was a part of was the first group of Vinegar Syndrome titles I've ever owned. So and that was the first film I watched from them. So I actually liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm a fan too, Aaron. I'm really excited about. I know you don't have it yet, but Don't Panic is my favorite, and
really?
I just got that. Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. I think the cheesiness of it, like there's something fun about it. I know some people don't like it as much, but it's more Nightmare on Elm Street than Friday the 13th, like those other two.
I'm interested in. I mean, like that's one. Like as I haven't got my Vinegar Syndrome package yet. I don't It's stressing me out, but at the same time, I don't blame Vinegar Syndrome. It's a busy time of year. I understand that.
Mine has. I got the notification, but it hasn't even been scanned yet. So it's just they printed off the label, I guess, and it's just sitting in limbo now. So
that's the
I work
worst.
for a company where that happens a lot.
It happens a lot. So, especially right now, I have 7 packages that are just just in the air. So I'm just praying. How about you, Brian? What is your honorable mention?
All right, I'm gonna cheat only a little bit in that these two kind of go together, and I'm gonna throw in one more. But the Tex Avery's. So you've got your your Screwball Classics Volume 1 and then Screwball Classics Volume 2. Both came out this year, and these are, if they were a box set, just these two, I think that's a pretty killer box set because there's actually a ton of cartoons on both of these. And really cool, the Volume 2 includes a documentary on Tex Avery, an old made-for-TV documentary. I want to say it's about an hour long, but it was really great. Like, I really liked it. It gave a little context. And one of the reasons I love Warner Archive is they do incredible scans. Like, their transfers are always impeccable. So even though they're not always extra heavy in terms of their, and they did have a couple discs. Mystery of the Wax Museum is another good one this year with some extras, but the transfers are always top notch. So, but I just figured animation, if you're into it, Tex Avery's great. And one that I haven't heard anybody talk about really is Space Ghost and Dino Boy.
That got a release.
It did, and this is great. And this also has a documentary about Alex Toth, the animator that sort of did the Herculoids and Space Ghost and all that. And I just watched that last night, and that's also good. Not as good as the Tex Avery, but good, and looks great. Like, just absolutely fantastic. These cartoons look so good.
Do you guys know who Alex Roth is? So he draws like super detailed pictures of like the superheroes. So like he'll do like Superman, and it just looks real. He did a bunch of art, not like actual panels, but he did like the covers for the actual Space Ghost comic, and it's so ridiculous to see Space Ghost drawn by someone with the amount of talent as Alex Roth. But my honorable mention is a box set that I bought blind because I was telling you guys, I sold a lot of manga to fund my Criterion and Arrow video habit this year. And I bought this blind and was pleasantly surprised. She has become one of my favorite directors, and that is the complete films of Agnes Varda. I hope it's Agnes, right? It's not Agnes.
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay. Yep. I think there's 32 or there's between 30 and 40 films in here. I didn't want to include it in the official list because there's a disc on here that has 5 films compressed onto one disc, and you can see it. It doesn't look good, but I want to give it nod. I don't know if this is going to show up in the camera, but there is little cartoon Anyas.
Oh yeah,
inside with like little sayings and stuff.
That's a pretty killer box.
This is one of their better box sets, and the thing I hate about Criterion is that none of their boxes have a uniform size. So this year they put out the Bruce Lee set and the Fellini set, which you can see right there. Oh. They're all massive. They're all different sizes. They don't there's no uniform to this. So you can't like display them on a shelf and be like, oh, here's my box sets from Criterion, because they're all like Bergman is huge, the Zatoichi's long. Also, for the price on their box sets, especially the Bruce Lee set, I think that's $120 set. It's really thin. It feels like nothing is protecting those discs. And I feel like with companies like Arrow, we've been spoiled by having these these hard cases, but even Arrow on their reprints are starting to go back to the thin cases. I got the that Noir set from them up there, and that's a reprint, and it's a thin box. So that sucks, but what can you do?
No, I get it. I mean, they got to save some money here and there where they can, but it's certainly appreciated when they go all out. Those boxes are so great to hold.
Also, I feel like, maybe Criterion stuff is more mass produced because Arrow, they usually do between 2,000 to 4,000 units for the first run, and then they'll reprint it. So maybe that's why, but yeah, Agnes Varda, definitely my favorite Criterion box set of the year, hands down. The Fellini set is just one, it's not complete. There's missing a lot of I think crucial films from him. And then they included like a program book for all of his movies, and the size is weird and it's hard to read. It's like a really thin book, but it's also like really tall. So you're just like, it's weird. But anyways, Aaron, would you like to do the honors of doing your number 5 pick?
Okay. So I didn't put them in order like I ranked them, but I wanted to start big. I mean that literally.
Okay. A big set.
Here it is. Oh,
yeah.
I know Flip's gonna like that. I don't have this one,
I
so
love it. I actually sold mine.
Ooh,
This is sexy.
It's a sexy set.
look at that thing.
Matt
has-
Matt Frank on the art, right?
Every Gamera and the trilogy, the holy trilogy
The
of
Heisei
Gamera
era.
films that are 3 of the best kaiju movies ever made, in my opinion, is the newer, because the Heisei era of Gamera. But not just that, but it's got the comic collection, which I adore.
Ooh.
And one of the neatest thing about this is the guy that did all the art for this here, all the art for this box set, he was a kid when the Gamera comics were out. So when they republished all the comic books, they published the letters pages as well. And 10-year-old him wrote a letter into the Gamera comics, and it's in here.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
That guy's name
So-
is Matt Frank. And
Matt Frank, yeah, he's got a YouTube channel himself, actually.
Yep. And he's super nice too. Super nice guy.
Nice.
But Aaron, I wanted to make a correction. You said just your opinion that they are some of the best kaiju. No, that's a fact. They are factually the best kaiju films of all time. And like seriously, like not even trying to be funny, like those Heisei era trilogy, I think for people in suits, because this is like, this is not CGI'd like the new Godzilla film was. These were dudes in suits, like old school tokusatsu. I think for suit design and the way they shot those films, it's mind blowing. Like that, like what you're looking at is a guy in a suit with a fake city around him.
Yeah, this was definitely one of my big sets of this year, and I'll be honest with you, I've got the Godzilla set, but yeah, this is. Yeah.
Someone offered me a pretty penny for mine, and I said no until they said, "Hey, we're reprinting them."
Yeah.
It's smaller. And I was like, "All right, fine."
So-
you can.
Can you guys tell me, like, so I don't have it, and they're reprinting those different boxes. What are you missing? Do you guys know when it's all said and done?
You're gonna be
They're
missing.
breaking them up,
Okay,
Yeah, they're breaking them up.
but everything is there.
except for like you missed the comic collection,
Yeah, well, that's a
which
bummer.
is these 5 comics here, which is the 4 Dark Horse and the independently done one by Matt Frank.
That's pretty.
And
great.
there's a huge book here as well that has like just a ton
That is
of
nice.
information and
Yeah.
pictures and even like the
Yeah, it's got like it's got like their insides, right, Aaron? It's like
yeah
it's really wild.
basic X-rays of the monsters.
So Brian, if you're interested to get those, and you don't, the older movies, while I'm sure Aaron likes them just as much as I do, they are super cheesy. Like,
Are those the ones they Mystery Science Theater, or is there different?
yes,
Okay.
That's how they started.
Yeah,
Mr.
so-
Sensei and Gamera.
Yeah.
they're super cheesy. But the Heisei era, there's actually 4 films in the Heisei era, but the last one is like its own thing. The original trilogy are legitimately some of the best, I think, tokusatsu movies, kaiju movies of all time. So if you are interested in getting them, I would get the Heisei era.
Okay.
If you're a completionist, get the Showa era too, but they are super corny.
I don't have to be a completionist all the time. I mean, I like cheesy movies too. Aaron knows this for sure. But no, I'm that's definitely something when I saw it, I'm like, okay, good. I didn't totally, because I will admit that the collector OCD in me definitely wins out, and I'm just like drawn to buy things sometimes that I know that I probably won't watch anytime soon. And I knew that was the case with that one. I just knew I had too much on my plate, so I just had to let it go.
See, it was like, for me, it was like there are movies that I loved and comics, and I'm also a comic collector too. So that was like a double whammy. And my daughter's favorite is like the Gamera series, like
Wow.
all of them.
That's awesome.
So,
Well, he is the guardian of children. Like, that's his tagline. Like he loves
awesome.
kids. It's just so cool. So Brian, how about you? What's your number 5?
I'll do my number 5. I just wanted to answer a question. Ice Q in the chat had asked, I think, if I've heard of Thunderbean, and I definitely have. And I'm a big fan of their work. Also, doing great work on a lower budget, but just really solid transfers. I have probably like 5 of their discs. So I just wanted to point out that they're great. If you haven't checked out Thunderbean animation, it's really good stuff. So anyway, having nothing to do with animation, here's one of my kind of outside the box picks. I didn't expect, I love this movie, Glengarry Glen Ross. I love it, but this transfer is fantastic. They did, Shout Factory did a new transfer for this one from the original camera negative, and I was really surprised. It just looked really good. And what you're getting is a new conversation with James Foley, the director, who I like a lot. And you're also getting a new interview with Joe Mantegna, which is really interesting because I didn't know his connection to this movie. I'm like, I don't remember Joe Mantegna being in the movie, but he played Ricky Roma on Broadway. So he was the Al Pacino character, and he's worked with David Mamet a lot. So it was just neat to see him talk about his relationship with Mamet. So those are just the new extras. And then on top of that, you get the old commentary with James Foley, the old commentary with Jack Lemmon, another featurette called Always Be Closing, and Magic Time, a tribute to Jack Lemmon. So there's a ton of stuff on this disc, and I feel like it was announced and people were a little bit excited, and then it just went away. And I picked it up and I was just like, wow, this one's really good. Like, I was really impressed with how good it looked. And this movie is just, the cast is insane. It's so good. And it's so, yeah,
Baldwin, yeah.
Ed Harris and, Alan Arkin. And it's just so, and it's Alec Baldwin's speech still haunts me to this day. It's just one of those things. I'll just say, like, I don't know if you guys have this with movies, but you'll have a certain phrase that gets into your head. And for me, the phrase that Alec Baldwin says at the beginning of it, where he says something like, because you're talking about what? You're talking about, and then he goes into whatever. And so when I'm trying to think of, like, if I lose my train of thought, sometimes I'll literally say to myself out loud, because you're talking about what? You're talking about, and it just, that is my process. So this movie has become ingrained in my head in that way. But anyway, I was just really impressed with this. Shout Factory's Shout Select line is, I think, really underrated in a way. And they had a quiet year this year. And they did a couple releases with not a lot of extras, like adaptation and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they did that this year too.
They did, yeah. But it was real quiet. And I feel like they don't send out review copies of these, so you don't see people talking about them as much. So this one just slipped under the radar. But I just, looking over the stuff I had from this year, I was like, that was, and I really like this ridiculous cover with the brass balls. So anyway,
that's a movie. So my wife is 5 years younger than me. She's 23. So she hasn't seen a lot of movies. So one of my joys in life is showing her movies that I loved growing up, because I'm almost 30, so I'm a little bit older than her.
Boy, you are an old man, aren't you?
Well, to her, like, she's always like,
but, just a little older.
You guys aren't that old. Come on, you guys aren't little. You guys are both young
men, young at heart.
And that's actually a movie that I've been eyeing to get to show her, because I feel like she would enjoy it. She went from, she made me watch all of Twilight. So it's my turn.
I think that's cool. It's sharing. It's share and share alike. You watch something of hers, she watched something of yours.
Yeah,
I like.
I definitely have the way better taste. And to comment on something that, like, from a movie that gets stuck in your head, I've watched Heat twice this last month.
Oh wow!
And every time, so my relationship with my parents is probably a little different. Especially my dad. We joke with each other. We, like, make fun of each other. I'm losing my hair. He has a ponytail. He makes fun of me for being bald almost. And we just go back and forth. So in the scene in Heat, when Al Pacino, when the guy goes, who? And he goes, who? Are you a fucking Al? We say that to each other all day.
I love that.
Yep. And then not my final pick. My number 5 pick is The Bride with the White Hair.
Oh,
this is put up by Eureka. I don't know if this is not under their Masters of Cinema line, which I can kind of see why. The transfer looks amazing. It's a new 4K restoration. It looks incredible. The action is great. The cinematography is great. The look of the movie is great. The story does not hold up very well because I think this came out in 93 and it's a wuxia film. Yeah, 93. But it's not too long. So I've actually, this was a blind buy as well. I've been trying to get more into wuxia as a whole, but this is my favorite disc art of the year
Nice.
out of any release. And this is also directed by Ronnie Yu. So if you guys are region free and you guys want a good Chinese action movie, I would suggest picking up Bride with the White Hair.
Excellent.
Well, I got him Bride of Chucky.
Same thing, really.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
unfortunately, Freddy versus Jason.
I like Freddy versus Jason.
It's a film.
I'm gonna spit take. I can just tell.
All right, Aaron, what is your number 4 pick, sir?
All right, so I actually have one.
It's a film.
It's a 7 release,
All right.
and it's not a box set.
Okay.
So,
Oh yeah.
Bahia
Oh.
Blanca. So I
That's
watched
Franco,
this.
right?
Didn't remember a lot about this film. I don't know if I'd even seen it, or if I'd seen it, I didn't see a very good version of it. So this is one of the films that Jess Franco put out in 1984. 84 was a game changer for Jess Franco. Things were changing, like behind the scenes with him. He wasn't quite sure where he was going, what he was doing. This is very different than what you'd expect from Jess Franco. So if you're expecting like a lot of the stuff that conjures up in your mind when you hear the name Jess Franco,
Yeah.
not so much. You'll get Lena Romay. She's not the star of it, though, in a really good role. But this is a film that has the best way to describe it. Jess Franco's Bergman is what it is.
Oh.
It's a bunch of people in a kind of a remote location that are together but completely separated and alone, even when they're in the same room. These are people that kind of can't make a connection. And they tend to be like just going with whoever, like basically making whatever connection they can, even if it's not the right one. It starts out with a murder, which is off screen. So we got a kind of a bloodless Franco here. Pretty much so. And it's a really nice story. It's well done, and it's a coherent story with a narrative, which, different for Franco. It is, but it's really one to check out. And it was done in a year when Franco's life was kind of in limbo, and he didn't know what he was going to make or sell or where he was going to be going in his career. So if you ever want to see a movie that pretty much encapsulates a director and his life at a point in time, Bahia Blanca is that film for Jess Franco.
Now, this was my first Franco film.
Was it really?
Yeah. So I've watched this, and like you said, what comes in your mind with other Franco films, when I got deeper into his catalog, I was not liking what I was seeing because it's not. I mean, Franco's he's not like a director I like, but that movie in particular is actually very well done. And what's the big deal? So, Aaron, can you tell us a little bit more? Because they said it's one of the rarest Franco films.
It was one of the harder ones to find. You have to understand, Franco made over 180 movies throughout his lifetime. Franco's a guy that's worked with a lot of different people. He's worked with people like Orson Welles. Franco is a guy that actually really does know his stuff.
So is he white Takashi Miike?
But he's, what's the word? What's the best word for it? He loves cinema. He never wanted to not be making films. So he's got films that were made, films that were completed, films that went unsold, films that were unfinished. And at the time you're making like 10 movies a year, then and he loved the process. He just loved going through it. Not everything made complete sense for a lot of his films, but I always found that if you really look and you go back at them, but definitely a few times, they're more challenging than you initially think, because people get stuck on the surface level And I think that a lot of Franco's stuff is kind of underrated, kind of falls beneath the radar. And people see the nudity and the violence and stuff like that, and they don't kind of get sometimes what he's really going for. And Bahia Blanca is more straightforward. Like, it is a time when Franco's lost and disassociated from his work and everybody and his sort of characters in the film, to the point where like we're seeing like these boat kind of just like drift across with that single solitary person, like in the front. There could be people around them, but there's one person that remains stoic on the boat. Whenever you see a boat trip across to the islet, then you always get that. And it just was one of those that really, it just stunned me. And the features on it are great. I've got the Franco books coming for Christmas from Stephen Thrower. So I'm actually really looking forward to those.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not like a big fan of Franco, but I love that someone like him existed. And I feel like today's cinema is missing people like him. Like, not to like crap on movies nowadays, but like a lot of what you are getting, in my opinion, what's being pushed is very sterile. And while I've only watched probably 5 or 6 Franco films, they all made me feel something. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's probably I think that's the most important sign of a film is if it made you have a feeling. Because a lot of films, I've seen all the Marvel movies and I'm just kind of like just flatlined on all of them. I get a laugh here and there, but I don't own a single one. But I still own a couple Franco films. So, but yeah, that's a good pick. See, this is what I like. This is why I wanted to have you two on. So far, we have had 0 overlap. This has been good. How about you, Brian?
Okay. I'm going to pull out an 88 Films here, and another one that I love this movie, and it's still not fully respected in that you have to import this from the UK. This is a Region B lock disc. There is not a domestic, there's a domestic Blu-ray, but the features, and by the way, I'm just going to do a quick plug for Ballyhoo Motion Pictures, Daniel Griffith's company that does a lot of features for 88 and other labels. He does great work. And so this one includes a new interview with Kinka Usher, the director, which is really cool. And then he talks to the costume designer. He talks to one of the effects people. And it's got a commentary, which I think might have been on the original disc. But it's pretty well loaded with stuff. And I just find it unfortunate that a movie this good, for me, a movie that you talk about superhero movies that I like, and how I always talk about how this one, had it been released 5 years ago or a couple years ago, would have been like a big hit, I think. But it just came out at the time when that wasn't what we were churning out. People weren't as into it, and it just kind of missed its audience. But it's developed a cult following, and I think it's just a super fun movie that I've always been a fan of. So when I was just flipping through the 88 film sale, they had a couple this year, and I was like, holy smokes, how did I miss that this even came out? And so when I got it, I was really excited, and I only got to dig into the features this weekend, and I was like really impressed. And I just wanted to throw in one more plug. I know it's not a boutique label, but this Total Recall 4K, for one, great transfer, looks good, but also the reason to pick it up, and I think it's only about $13 on Amazon right now, which is another reason to get it. It has an hour-long documentary, again, by Ballyhoo, about Carolco, the company. They're kind of like a classier Canon Films, but they produced this movie, Terminator 2, and a bunch more. And that documentary is really solid. I know that if you hear what Daniel has to say about what he wanted to do, it was going to be its own thing. It was going to be a lot longer, but that just didn't work out. So you only get an hour-long doc. But it still touches on a lot of great films, including like Extreme Prejudice, Walter Hill's movie, and a whole bunch of others. And I was just really impressed with that. In fact, they talk about Red Heat in this documentary, which then made me go out and pick up the Red Heat 4K as well. So it's very inspirational. So I just wanted to say, hats off to Ballyhoo Motion Pictures for doing some great features.
They're working with Mill Creek now too.
Yeah. No, he's doing a lot of stuff, and I love it. Over. Yeah, he's great. But yeah, this one, if you like Mystery Men, you should get region free and snag this.
Region free is probably the most important thing to do, especially they're like $100. You can get a region free player.
It's not expensive. I mean, I get that $100 could buy you a lot of discs, but if you find a month where you're not spending a lot of money, maybe that's the time to think about upgrading then, because it will change your life. You guys all know this.
Key to new world.
Yeah,
it really is. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, especially since shout out to 88 Films. They're putting out a ton of kung fu movies, a bunch of like old school Jackie Chan movies, but specifically Shaw. They're putting out a bunch of Shaw Brother films. My favorite being the Flying Guillotine and the Five Elements Ninja, One Armed Swordsman. Their catalog for that stuff is incredible. I'm actually the third shelf on the bottom right over my shoulder here is going to be nothing but Shaw Brothers films. Like
Nice.
I love them. I think they're one of my favorite studios. But my number 4 pick is probably the most visually stunning films I've seen all year. And again, Blind Buy. I bought this because I just love. I think when it comes to, I think Japanese directors make some of the most visually pleasing films. This is right up there for me with Kwaidan and Gates of Hell, which are both on the Criterion. I'm actually surprised this didn't get a Criterion release because I think it's like it's a masterpiece. It's from the same director as Bloody Spear at Mount Fuji. This is directed by Tomo Uchida, and this is the Mad Fox. So this movie is like, so the guy who directed it has worked on kabuki theater plays, and this movie slowly transitions into a full-on kabuki theater play. It's visually beautiful. It takes place in a fictional era in Japan's history. I think they call it like the Weihei era or something along the line. It's very similar to Heisei. They just change a few words around. So it's in a fictional era. The world feels very lived in. It feels like, you're watching a part of history, but there are some, it's very theatrical. It's very dramatic. And like I said, it's visually just, I think, the most beautiful film I've seen all year. It's incredible. Wow. I really hope Arrow puts out more of his work, because between this and Bloody Spear at Mount Fuji, I'm very impressed by this guy's work. I read that when doing research on this guy, I read that Akira Kurosawa was a big fan of his work. So I highly recommend you guys pick up the Mad Fox. This was my first Arrow Academy release.
Oh, nice.
I loved it. It's so good.
Arrow Academy. I love Arrow Academy. So much good stuff.
Yeah, and they're taking a break here in this. Like, they're putting out something. They're putting out the Jules Danson box set in March of next year in the UK. But then in the US, they're taking a break for the time being.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That's a bummer.
Yeah, so after they put out the Imura box set, they said, hey, we don't know what the future of the line's going to be.
Oh,
but then it was like 2 weeks later, they announced, was it Naked City and Brute Force? We're getting a box set. That box set looks incredible. I'm kind of disappointed that I bought them on Criterion already, because I would definitely have gotten them. It looks amazing. But yeah, they did say they will have an announcement sometime in the future. But what a year, Arrow Academy. It's the Mad Fox, Hiroshima, and the Imura box set were the ones that I think I picked up from them. And it's just amazing.
I love their classic stuff too. I mean, they've done like Preston Sturges and like Billy Wilder and all that. They're great.
They've done The Apartment, which I have.
Yep, good one.
What was it? Kansas City I have as well. Yeah, they've done some great stuff. So
I like them a lot. Underrated.
So Aaron, what's your number 3?
My number 3 pick? Hold on.
He's got to get a forklift. What's going on? How big is it?
So this is one that me and my better half, actually, she likes very different films than me, but this is one that we both got excited about.
Ooh.
And it was her that said, we got to order this, and I got to order this right away. So.
Oh, there you go. More Franco.
Yeah. He's actually had the last 2. Not his best work, but it's
Franco directed a lot.
But the film that you said is this is solid. This is a great set.
Yeah, it is.
The first 3 films specifically are excellent. Face of Fu Manchu, man, it literally starts off with like Fu Manchu getting his head cut off, and you're like, where the heck are they going to go from here? And it's just brilliantly done. This, if you bought it from Indicator themselves, you got 2 posters. You got the poster, but I'll show you right here. The other one's downstairs, unfortunately, I think. But I think it is. Like a lot of them come with posters and books and all that stuff. They're all double-sided.
Right.
So you got like this here, the brides, and here you got like face. But what's really cool is it came with this extra poster, which says Fu Manchu for mayor.
That's great.
Because that was a thing apparently back then. There's like this. I guess apparently it was kind of like a joke, a statement. They actually started up during this mayoral election. They put up these Fu Manchu for mayor posters, and they reproduced them. And the indicator did, but it is gorgeous. I mean, there's like cards in here as well from the movies, pictures from the films. There's a big book in here. It's just a gorgeous set. And Indicator, their box set says Stephanie Crawford say passed the knock test.
So solid.
And it is a gorgeous set. Even look at the side of this, man.
I love that side art so much.
It is such a great set. And I'm so excited I got it. And I was like, oh, should we get this? And she was like, yes, we got to get this.
I love that.
Right.
Better half push
so
for
we
that.
started watching it, and it was just so much fun.
Now, see, if I were to say my better half made me get a movie, it would be like Breakfast at Tiffany's. But your better half, which also has racist Asian caricatures.
I honestly can't even watch that movie anymore.
I
too much.
I watched it with her, and I was like, this is
so hard.
Just like Aaron said earlier, I was like, that's a film. That was a film. But Aaron, I wanted to include that set in my list because I think it's kind of surprising that a company put out a Fu Manchu box set in 2020. But Indicator, of all companies, knocked it out of the park. And then between that and their Columbia Noir set,
oh my God, yeah,
it's just incredible. And also was it Force 10 from Navarone? I'm blown away by. So is it Powerhouse or is it Indicator?
Well, Powerhouse is a parent company, but it's Indicator.
Okay. And then, obviously I kept the J card on there, but is there a purpose other than just like the collector thing, just like the number on the back?
Not really.
I actually really like it. I think it's a nice little touch.
Yeah, nobody else does that, and so it becomes like a standout thing, detail from them. I keep plugging it, but there's a great interview on the Indicator Cast, which is a fun podcast all about Indicator, and they interviewed the founders of the company probably about a month ago now, maybe less, and it's great. There's all kinds of stuff I never would have thought of, like why they called the company Indicator and how they talked about it being a litmus test with the little, you put the paper in and it turns it different, and that's what that is all about, and just all these things. But I mean, that's just minor details, but just hearing where they came from, where they used to work, how they came to, put out Indicator, which has become one of my favorite labels.
Mine too, especially
this year. I think they're so underrated.
Totally.
Especially in the States. I mean, all the Hammer sets. My 3 favorite box sets from them are definitely Fu Manchu, Five Tall Tales, and the Columbia Noir set number 1. Also, for the price of what you're getting, like what you're paying for the amount of enjoyment that you're getting is insane. Like $70 roughly, and you're getting at least 5 movies, a bunch of special features, a book that is just their books are incredible. Like I used to think Arrow Video's books were great, but Indicators are so detailed, and the paper quality is fantastic. Like they're. We'll talk about them probably for best company at the end.
I mean, it's gonna be tough, but for me, like pound for pound, the amount of time and effort they put into the extras and the packaging and everything, like I don't know if there's somebody that I think does it better right now.
Yeah,
it's close, but
Criterion's called the film school in a box, but I honestly think that it's Indicator. Yeah. Like if anybody was like, I wanted to make films, if you're somebody that wants to do films in the future and you want to look towards a company to learn from, Indicator is definitely a company to learn from.
Yeah. And then how about you, Brian? What's your number? Are we on 4? Yeah, 4.
Number 4. Well, another company that made a big splash this year is Imprint from Australia. And they have another couple great box sets, a Hammer TV box set and a Noir box set that I almost picked. But I went with this because this came out twice. This came out from Shout Factory, Scream Factory, but this is harder to get now, unfortunately, but this is the better release. Not only because I love the artwork a little bit more.
Oh
yeah.
Pretty badass. And they do the side loader slipcase, which I kind of like. But this one has, not only does it have what this has the commentary with John Philip Law, Tim Lucas, talking about Mario Bava. And Tim Lucas obviously wrote the largest book on Mario Bava. So he's great. But this also has Danger Diabolic from Fumetti to Film. But this one has that commentary, and I don't know if it has no, it does have Fumetti to Film, but then it has an exclusive video essay from Kat Ellinger, who, if you listen to my show, you know I'm a huge fan of her, and her video essay is great. And then it has an updated audio commentary from Tim Lucas, where he's done another commentary. And I'm like, 2 Tim Lucas commentaries? I mean, come on. That's incredible. So I got to say, Imprint is on the rise. Like, if you're not paying attention to what they've got a deal with Paramount. They're putting a lot of Paramount movies out that have never been on Blu-ray. Place in the Sun got its first Blu-ray release before Criterion this year with them. And I Married a Monster from Outer Space and Day of the Locust. And anyway, so this is another Paramount title. They did a great job with it. I mean, I think these are the same transfers. I don't think they're doing... One thing they're not doing that I'm noticing is new transfers, which is sometimes the case with a newer label. Like, the transfers cost...
expensive.
Exactly.
I read they're like, for a transfer is like at least 20 grand.
Oh yeah, I think that's low end from what I'm hearing. But that said, so you're gonna, but I mean, here's the other thing. Like, a lot of times we love Shout Factory and Scream Factory. They're not doing new transfers every time either. So I love it when they do. But I'm not always going to hold it. What's that?
The Craft.
Was that a new transfer?
No.
See, I didn't think so. You're right. Yeah. See, I mean, so it happens a lot with them, more than I'd like, to be honest. So that's the one downside to Imprint, but I really feel like they're making an effort with the extras, and they're making an effort with putting out stuff that hasn't been. Hard 8, that's a big one. That's never been on Blu-ray. They put that out. So this was my favorite, though. I think this is one of the best Bava films. But best, I mean, the most fun, the most entertaining, the most sort of pop art spy movies you're ever going to see. And I was just really excited it got a Blu-ray release at all, let alone 2 Blu-ray releases. But if you can still get this one, I don't know where you can go now. I know somebody was telling me that Import CDs had a bunch of these. The other thing that's a bummer about them is they do smaller runs, which I think is maybe also a product of being a new company and not spending as much on licensing. They do a smaller run, so they sell out.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, Aaron, you've probably noticed this too. I think I'm seeing them starting to announce the stuff that's sold out is now getting non-limited edition releases, which probably means no slipcase. And maybe,
like standard editions.
Yeah, so they're not out of reach. So if this does go out of print, they know that they will eventually probably put it out as a standard. It might take 6-8 months. But I love this slipcase and this artwork. This is pretty killer. So Danger Diabolic, my number 4.
And they're also
or 3.
region free, right?
What's that?
They're also all region free.
They are. I think they maybe. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought maybe they put region B on the back, but I haven't found one yet that's region locked.
And then I said, by the way, chat, we are looking. We're just talking. Fire in the Sky, first time.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. Fire in the Sky. Excited about that too. Good.
So my number 3 is kind of a controversial release, and then it got canceled, came back, and it's Django.
Oh, you got one of those. Yeah. I'm waiting on the 4K now.
Yeah, after I got this, and then 5 months later, they were like, "Oh, there's a 4K." I'm just glad Arrow and Blue Underground came to their senses, and but this movie by Sergio Corbucci is part of his Mud and Blood trilogy, like a non-connecting trilogy, which has this, The Specialist, and then what's the one in the snow? I don't know why I'm blanking.
Great Silence?
The Great Silence, yes. So those 3 are all a fake, like a non-connecting trilogy. One of my favorite Westerns of all time, and this one also includes Texas Adios, and a great poster. I very rarely look at posters that come with Blu-ray sets, but between this and the Fu Manchu one, I'm really tempted to hang this up in my room. So it's a double-sided poster. You get my headset here. You get the original.
Oh, nice.
And then you get a double-sided as well.
That's cool.
Franco Nero is one of my favorite Italian actors. Sorry, and he made a cameo in Django Unchained. So if you guys want a good Western, I would suggest, like Brian said, there's a 4K of this coming out. There's a steel book as well coming out. I kind of wish I didn't grabbed this and I would have waited. But I actually had 2 of these. I ordered on Amazon, and Amazon said it got canceled. And then I went to eBay and got it, and then Amazon sent this to me. So I had 2, and I ended up just selling one. But
Nice.
but yeah, that's my number 3. I had to throw a Western in there. I was gonna pick Shanghai Joe by Wild East. I don't know if you guys know that company at all.
No, I know that movie only because I think Tarantino programmed it at the New Beverly this past year.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So Wild East used to put out a ton of like unknown spaghetti westerns, and a lot of them would be like a DVD of like 2 of them. You know, like be like a double feature. There'll be like a theme to the double feature. But they have had almost 0 releases. Like they usually do like 1 a year now. It's slowed down. So they didn't have one all year. Nothing was announced. Even their website's very outdated. And then they put out Shanghai Joe. So I almost included that just to, give a nod to that company because I love them and I want them to stick around. But it seems like they're slowly dying out. And it's whenever they made the transition to Blu-ray. They were pumping out DVDs, and then now it seems like they're almost gone. And as someone who loves westerns,
how easy is it to get that Blu-ray?
Shanghai Joe?
Yeah.
Pretty easy. I think it's like $10 on Amazon.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I would suggest picking it up before it eventually probably goes out of print. So
I will do that.
So Aaron, what is your number 2, buddy?
Number 2. Before I'm going to say something kind of controversial because I just got to because it's me, and because I love spaghetti westerns, but I don't have enough. Sergio Corbucci might be my favorite, even over Leone.
My friend,
put it out there.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think Corbucci is the better Sergio. I think he's
and the Great Silence.
Amazing. Was it Klaus Kinski in that?
Yeah.
Plays such a great villain. Like such a great villain. My favorite scene, spoilers for how old is that movie? 1968. So if you spoilers, guys, but that scene where that girl shoots at him and he just looks at his, like his group of guys and goes, "You saw her shoot at me first, right?" And then just boom, dead. I was like, oh man, that movie is cold, just like the setting. And a fun fact: most of the snow in that movie was shaving cream.
Oh wow!
So there's a lot of it. So, but yeah, Aaron, what is your number 2?
Okay, I picked something. I kind of cheated, but I picked something that nobody else would ever pick because of the joy that it brings me. Ultraman.
Yes,
nice.
Yes,
I grew up
before. Yes,
and when these things were announced, like the geek in me, like just totally, yeah,
Nice flip.
So I haven't seen a lot of the newer ones, right? So I'm seeing some of these for the first time. So yeah, the 2 that came out this year were Return of Ultraman, Ultraman Ace, and the Legacy set, and Ultraman RB and Ultraman X came out for the new one.
we also had Genga and Orb.
Genga, I don't have Genga yet though.
Genga's awesome, and then Orb they had like a web series in Japan. And
Yeah, there's a web series, and I got that. That's over here somewhere. Orb Saga and Ultra Fight Orb. But these are really, really good sets. And the neat thing about these is where these are like 50 or so episodes. When you get to the newer stuff, it's like 20, 25 episodes. And it's a lot easier, a lot more palpable at times. Like I can't always go through in a complete Legacy set unless I got like a bunch of time. And lately I've had no time. But I can put on like this and go through a couple of discs, no problem.
Yep.
And, you get the 25 episodes, and then you get the movie, too, at the end. So I had to put it on here because it was one of those things that was just like, I love it so much. And I do love this, too, the ever-growing on these here. If you look in the back.
Oh, that's nice.
Like I got a bunch of them. And they all kind of go together to make up this like big collage, big picture. Basically, because the guys that did this used to work with BCI, and BCI did the He-Man She-Ra sets, and they had a big picture in the background like that too. This is a throwback to that. But
now,
yeah.
Aaron, I want to make a note. The reason why these sets are such a big deal here in the States is because I'm a massive tokusatsu fan. I have I have an entire shelf of nothing but Ultraman action figures to my right. Like I love Ultraman, and as someone who imports them, Japan breaks up their shows. Even if it's a 25 episode show, they will break it up into 2 to 3 Blu-ray sets, and they'll be $80 a pop. So and then the movie will also be its own release. So the fact that Mill Creek was able, and I also think it's probably because Tsuburaya was the first big tokusatsu company. You know, Toei is still behind the times. They haven't put out any Kamen Rider on Blu-ray here in the States. But Tsuburaya was the first company to, say, hey, we're going to release all of our stuff. And they're all cheap. They're all super, super cheap. They're like less than I think the legacy sets, because I didn't get the standard ones. I got the steelbooks. I think those are like $40, and then like the newer shows are like $25.
Yeah, they're like super like inexpensive. And the neat thing for I love the booklets.
Yeah, exactly. And then they have the booklet. So Brian, they have a booklet of all the kaiju. Wow. And then each Ultraman has its own powers. So it'll have like a breakdown of his abilities. It's amazing. Mill Creek.
And I love this. This is just a cheesy, simple thing, but so this is the slip, right? But
yeah,
the inside artwork is completely different, unique.
Love it.
And the booklets are just.
Now, Aaron, would you say with the newer shows, like I'm so impressed by the like miniatures, because a lot of the times those like little buildings can look cheesy, but they look so good. Whoever like the production company is, that, I mean, it's Tsuburaya, but the group of guys that they have working for them, they just put so much work and love into it, and they're tearing that stuff down every week when they're going live with their show. So, God, Ultraman's so cool. Ultraman is super, super rad. And Brian, are you big into Ultraman?
I can't say I'm not a fan. I don't know it like you guys do, and so it's definitely something I want to get into, but I haven't just yet. So, oh man, I've been excited about all these Blu-rays though, for sure.
If you ever get into Ultraman, you're in for a treat.
Oh yeah,
they're amazing. I think Aaron, that's like one of the first times that you ever joined one of my streams was when I was showing off my tokusatsu collection, and me and you were geeking out about Ultraman. We're both like, we're big Ultraman fans. So I wanted to include a couple of those, and I'm glad you did. I have all of them sitting right there because I'm getting ready to rearrange my shelves. So, but Brian, what's your number 2?
My number 2, it was tough because this company had a killer year in terms of 4Ks, but I feel like this one is new, and so it's getting a little less love than the others. But Blue Underground, I've finally now got all of them that they put out. So I have New York Ripper, I have House by the Cemetery, I have Zombie, Maniac, Daughters of Darkness, also great. But this is the most recent one, and I felt like it's the least loved because it's so new, and it's a great movie. It's maybe my favorite Bill Lustig movie. I like Maniac, don't get me wrong.
I've never seen Vigilante.
It's really good. I mean, it's like his Death Wish, kind of, but it's like more than one person. So it's like a gang of people kind of death wishing. And it's a great cast. You got, Robert Forster and Fred Williamson, and Joe Spinell plays a sleazy lawyer. So that's a great bit. But oh my God. I mean, again, it's not a surprise if you've seen any of these, the transfers are incredible. They really, and they're expensive, but I've heard Bill Lustig talk about it, and it's not a cheap process to do these new transfers. So I'm sure that there are some people that are like scared off by the price tag, and I totally understand. But if you want a really good looking 4K, you really can't go wrong with any 4K they've put out. Honestly, I've looked at all of them, and I think they all look fantastic. I was just looking at Zombie the other day, and it looks great. So good, man. But this one I think is just a little less, because it's not horror specifically. I think it's a little underseen and underappreciated, and I just got it. And it's got, the usual features, commentary with Lustig and his co-producer, and there's another commentary with Lustig and Robert Forster and Fred Williamson. And then they've got new commentary from Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson, another new featurette, actually like 2 or 3 new featurettes. So I don't know. They do a great job with these. Some of these, I don't know if the 4Ks actually include the soundtracks. They don't, because that's the one downside when you're upgrading from their Blu-ray sets. The one thing you're losing is the soundtrack CD, which I thought was a great thing that they included, but I was just really impressed. This one did not disappoint in terms of how good it looked. And as I said, really, you're not going to go wrong with any Blue Underground 4K. They basically have my trust moving forward. There's not a 4K they're going to put out that I'm not going to want to get probably at some point, because they have such a great catalog. I know we're going to get some more Fulci hopefully in the future, even though we got a great year of Fulci 4Ks. But definitely pick up Vigilante if you're sleeping on it. Well worth the pickup. Really good stuff.
Now, if any company is listening, Fulci directed some really great westerns, and I would love for somebody to make a box set out of it, because I think it's like 5 or 6. It's like not that many. It's just a perfect amount for a box set, and they're good because a lot of people just know Fulci for his horror, but he directed some really good films outside that genre. So
he did. He's a good director beyond the horror, and I get why people love the horror, but I love him all around. I think he's really great.
Now, Aaron, you've done a video on Fulci, haven't you? Like a deep dive?
Yeah, a couple. Actually, I need to do a new one soon, but I'm a huge Fulci fan. So I don't have any of the Blue Underground 4Ks yet. I'm so ashamed as a collector. I want them so bad. Now, Daughters of Darkness, I think, is the first one that had the CD soundtrack with it.
Yes, you're right.
In the 4K. I would like to see them do more of that.
Because even the House by the Cemetery and New York Ripper have multi-disc, but this is a 3-disc, I want to say. No. Anyway, they're the ones that are thicker like this. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah.
So like this and Daughters of Darkness both have lenticular covers, which are, like you say, they're very sexy and cool, and I definitely like those too.
Machine Kills Music says, and sometimes 4K just ends up as diminishing returns. I disagree. I think their 4Ks are great.
Oh, is that right? Dave G says in the chat their next one will be Dead and Buried. Did you guys know that? I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that either.
I know that Final Countdown's coming out. They made a big announcement about that.
Hello,
I saw that, yeah. But Dead and Buried, that's a day one purchase. That movie's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Especially if they are doing it in 4K. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
My number 2 pick is another Arrow box set surprise. It's been this list has been nothing but Arrow. But Graveyards of Honor. So this is 2 films, one by Kenji Fukasaku, who's done the Battles Without Honor and Humanity series. His last film was Battle Royale. And then the other film is directed by Takashi Miike, and they're both loosely based on a novel which was based on a real Yakuza member who kind of goes crazy and just ruins his life. He's a total piece of crap. And that's a thing that I think, especially with Miike's version, I love Kenji Fukasaku. I think he's one of the best Japanese directors. But his movie, I think his directing style in general is very, I think Aaron said this, or maybe it was you, Brian, his directing style is very challenging. I think that you said that, Aaron. I'm not sure, but his style is very challenging, and this movie is very challenging to get through the first time. But the second time, it's fun. You're picking up on stuff. But Miike's version is Miike kind of holding back a little bit, and it's a very well done film. It's a very just straightforward gangster story. The lead actor in Miike's film is just steals the room. Like for a guy that like both of these films are about a guy, like I said, who's a total piece of crap that you aren't rooting for, but strangely you find yourself rooting for, and then you feel bad for rooting for him. You're like, why am I rooting for a guy who just murders people, who rapes women? I mean, that sounds bad to say, but I also want to say the packaging on Arrow's box set here is incredible. It comes with a great book, and I want to show off the artwork for Miike's version in particular. This is my favorite artwork of any movie of this year. It's nice. So good. And then here's Kenji Fukasaku's. But the thing that really surprised me is that, with my number 1 pick, there was a lot of hype around it. There was like, it got announced, and that's the first pick was the first Arrow video box set I've ever gotten. And we'll talk about that when it, wraps around to my turn. But this just got announced and came out, and there was like no hype around it. And this might be like, as time goes on, this might take number 1. I have returned to these films quite a bit, and they're so damn good. And
Diabolical DVD before this got released said, "Hey, this is almost sold out." So if you are even remotely interested in two good Japanese crime movies, I would suggest jumping on this before this box set is sold out. That's what I love about Arrows. That you got two directors that are from different generations who made a movie about the same source material, and they just kind of packaged it nicely, and it's fantastic. Both of these movies are great. So
Nice.
I highly recommend Graveyards of Honor. So Aaron, the big number one. The big number one.
So number one actually is number one, and I cheated because there's a tie.
I love it.
But they're very different. They're both box sets, and they're from the same company. And I think this company's had a really good year. And
wait. Can I take a guess?
I have a guess too.
One of them is the Lindsay Baker box set by Severin.
Maybe.
I was gonna say the Hammer box set from Mill Creek, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Oh, very nice. Oh, you nailed it.
What a year
Yeah.
for sets, and what a year for Severin. This is pretty much the complete filmography of Al Adamson. Love him or hate him, or in between. And one of the neat things about Al Adamson is his movies don't follow, like, he didn't just make one genre. Much like a lot of those directors, he made a little bit of everything. And some are better than others. Some are cheesy. Some are crazy.
Yep.
But they're all fun. Like, they're so much fun. And you got everything from, like, motorcycle movies. Probably his best movie is Satan Sadist. To, like, cheesy things like Dracula versus Frankenstein. To blaxploitation films. To sexploitation stuff with Blazing Stewardess, Girls for Rent. To, like, kids movies. Like Carnival Magic. And just insane stuff.
A very scary movie.
And it is great. Like, the way this was put together, like the book that was included with this was Bill Ackerman and Amanda Reyes, and they do an amazing job on this. It's like a thick book, and there's a ton of movies, a ton of stuff on here. But for me, even better was right here, the Lindsay Baker set.
Very nice.
This is a 6-disc set, 4 movies, and 2 discs of soundtracks, CD soundtracks, and 4 amazing giallos. Now, a lot of times when people think of giallo, they think of like the Martino stuff or the Argento stuff. But Umberto Lenzi did these earlier giallos called the jet set giallos, because giallos break up into a couple different genres, a couple different like types. You get like the really stylistic, like murder, blood, sexual deviant oriented ones. And you get these earlier ones that deal with a lot of like things like inheritance and like going in different places of the world. And they're just gorgeous. They're just beautiful, done. They're so amazingly shot. And the music is incredible. And I love this set. I love the music on this set. I love all 4 of these films. People keep telling me to rank them. And I can't, because especially the first 3 I love so much. Orgasmo, So Sweet, So Perverse, A Quiet Place to Kill. All those are amazing. And then you get like this one that's really subdued compared to the first 3, which is Knife of Ice. And it's the last one that he did with Carol Baker. And it's just so like different than the other one. The other ones, there's the sexiness and there's like a lot of, inventive kills or twists and turns. And Knife of Ice goes in a completely different direction. So you're watching all 3 of these and you think you've got it down. Like, okay, I know what he's doing. I know what his method of his madness is. I know where this is going. And then Knife of Ice comes along and it's totally different from the first 3 in the set. And you're like, because even introduced like one character, and I won't say who it is. There's a character in Knife of Ice that is usually like one of those girls that's kind of a lead character and a lot of the giallo stuff. And they knock her off like super early on. And you're like, okay. Not where I thought they were going to go with this. I thought they were going to go in a much different direction, but it's really good. The only thing I don't like about Knife of Ice is because I love animals. There's like a bullfighting scene right at the beginning of Knife of Ice, and it makes no sense. It has nothing to do with the story.
Damn it!
And I'm like that. Like, so when you're watching this guy, definitely don't let that like sway you though. Like get the set; it's an amazing set. But when you get to Knife of Ice, you can fast forward through the bullfighting sequence because it's not. There's no clues in it, like to tell you who the killer is or anything like that. It's just a bit of extra stuff. So Severance had a really good year of stuff like this. They scooped Cruel Jaws out from obscurity when basically Scream Factory announced it was a big Scream Factory deal. Cruel Jaws was coming out; they're going to do it, and all of a sudden, no, they're not. But Severin put it out, and not only did they put it out, but if you bought the early edition of it, you got it with its alternate slipcover, which says Jaws 5 on it, and I so love that. That's a ballsy move.
Yeah, I almost picked that, Aaron. I almost put because I thought you were going to have some Severin. I didn't want to overlap, but Cruel Jaws is definitely one of my favorites of the year. And if you got the novelization, the sleazy novelization is great, and I love novelizations too. So that was like a release made just for me. You know what I mean? Like that was so cool. I'm so glad they did. No, you're right. They did have such a killer year. I think it's a bummer because they kind of flubbed the Black Friday stuff, but it is what it is. They already had such a killer year prior to that.
See, I think that for the Black Friday stuff for Severin, like it wasn't my stuff, but it was meant like obviously it had its audience. I really don't think that was initially their plans. I think that they may have planned something a bit different, but things happen.
Yeah.
But that being said, I cannot wait to get Tales of the Uncanny, and I am so pissed at myself that I didn't pick up Attic Expeditions or the other one, the Buddy Joe. God, I'm not the Buddy one because I'm not gonna pronounce his last name right. But the guy that did Combat Shock, because that movie with Tim Roth, like I watched the trailer when it came back on because I didn't check the trailers before because I was just getting the Vinegar Syndrome stuff. It was a lean year in the Pynn house also, which we were just being careful. But I looked at the trailer with Tim Roth and James Russo, and I'm like, this is me. This is my thing. I was kicking myself.
Did they sell out of any of those?
They still have some. I don't know how. I hope they have some next year when I have money. So that'd be nice.
I would have got Attic Expeditions, but I guess I just assumed it wouldn't sell out or whatever. So I probably am wrong, but.
Well, Attic Expeditions is still there, and they'll have a regular edition of that one. But the other one is one that was only supposed to be for the weekend.
Oh, we talked about this, Aaron. Like, I get it.
That's one thing I don't like.
I really am not a fan of you must buy this weekend or you will not have it. Like, I just don't. I that's really preying on the worst kind of instincts in collectors.
Yeah.
Like me.
No, same. I'm the same way. Honestly, I'm the same way. Like I literally just got. I was telling Aaron off air. I just got the 88 Films. I Know What You Did Last Summer trilogy.
I so want that.
Which I really wanted, but part of it was I saw them 88 Films tweeting that they had run out of stock on their site, and they're like, "Oh, Amazon's got some," and I was like, "Oh no, I want to have that. I can't not." So they hooked me that way, and it happened. I don't know. They made it. Maybe it just was so popular. I mean, for them, it probably was like a huge, because those movies are so big. It's some of the bigger, more well known. I mean, as far as I can tell, horror releases they've done. And I just was digging into that set, and I really like it. That's a total aside, but just a thing where I was like, oh, I got to get that, kind of thing. So
that's all I was with the Al Adamson set. I was like, I have to get this. And then I watched it, and these movies are bad, but I enjoyed every single one. Like
you watched all the movies in the set?
I watched all of them within a month.
Wow.
I'm still not through all of them.
I was gonna say I still haven't either.
Me and a friend did a podcast where we talked about Al in the set, and
oh, that's great.
I watched all of them, and honestly, by the fifth film, my brain was starting to kind of mush together. But the documentary was fascinating.
So he's such an interesting dude, and
he seemed like a good guy.
Yeah,
he seemed like a great guy. I mean,
really sad, really tragic.
It's just sad. But yeah, he had his films have a personality, and whether or not you enjoy them or not, I think they're definitely worth owning. And then that Lindsay set is just incredible. Like like Aaron pretty much knocked it out of the park with everything I have to say about that set. It's just one of the best Giallo sets. Funny thing is that, so my grandparents, I was telling you guys off air, my grandparents are from Sicily, and when they moved here, they actually had a satellite that got nothing but just like channels from their home country. And when I used to spend the night with them, there would be a channel that would play Giallo films super late at night. So I'd be like 10 and my grandparents are asleep. You know, they're your grandparents. They're like, what? You know what I mean? Like they didn't know they were asleep. And I would watch, you know, these Lindsay Giallos, Argento Giallos. So like all these movies that a 10-year-old probably shouldn't be watching. And I would be watching them. So then now when I go back, I have like memories of like going to the fridge and getting some pasta out of there and heating it up and sitting there and watching these movies with like cheesy ad breaks. And it's just, it has a very fond place in my heart for those movies. But yeah, Severin has had a great year. And then for people who, I mean, their Black Friday deal was kind of like a bad look, but it's like a small group of people. It's like a handful of people that run that company. So, you know, they're a small mom and pop place. And I think they're probably like the smallest out of all the labels.
I don't know. What do you think, Aaron?
They're definitely down there. I mean, like Snaps is pretty small too. But yeah, like when it comes to like, they still need to work on the one thing I love the company and I love a lot of stuff to do. They still got to work on when it comes to their, because as a guy that you know, this is one went to school for, public relations is something that Severin needs to work on.
That webmaster dude
was it them that had the guy that just was like called people an insult in like on his personal Facebook?
Was it? I thought it was on their Facebook, but I could be wrong. Maybe
it was on his Facebook, but people like poured it over onto like a forum. Yeah, and you'll know what forum it is.
It's a Blu-ray forum?
But yeah.
That's a.
No, I mean, like, I love their stuff, and I think this is probably the best year they've had. Like you go back over there's the years that, like, last year was good, but this year was killer, and next year you got the Milligan set and the Black Emmanuel set coming.
Really
and
excited
for me,
about the Milligan. I know you're excited about Black Emmanuel.
Oh yeah, I wanted the Black Emmanuel set. I want the Milligan set too. I was listening to your Pure Cinema podcast with the girl. She's so good.
Millie, yeah.
And I subscribed to her podcast right afterwards.
Yeah, she's great. Millie DiCerico.
Yeah, and when she talked about like Fleshpot on 42nd Street, which is, by the way, the movie that I like champion all the time because I just love that film. So it's his best movie for you guys. Watch that film; it's good.
Yeah, no, it's his best, and I actually mentioned it on this week's Pure Cinema too. So he's getting two episodes in a row getting love. It's a really neat film. Like I discovered that one myself first time this year, and really floored me. Really good stuff. But I can't wait for that box set. That's going to be really neat, especially the way they've been doing their box sets. You know.
So Brian, what's your number one?
Number one. I'm gonna go Massacre at Central High.
Okay.
I knew it.
And Aaron and I have already talked about this on my live stream, but I just had to bring it back because I've been through. This is a
steelbook with a slipcover.
It's a steelbook with a slip.
Whoa. Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. I'll say, Flip. This one expensive. It's about $46.
That's not too bad.
I mean, it's not terrible, but again, we know, you guys know, Synapse does really great work, right? And their restorations are top notch. Like I literally was just watching or rewatching the 4K of Suspiria last night, and I was just like, oh my god, this just is one of my favorite looking Blu-rays ever.
Yep.
And so when they do their stuff, they take their time. They put out a couple releases a year, and when they do it right. So this one had been not available forever outside of VHS. It had like some sketchy DVDs. But their restoration looks fantastic. It's like, if I was describing this movie, I've called it like Heathers with dudes, but like much more violent and not as funny. So it's kind of like this dude comes to a new school and he kind of, you know, runs afoul of like this preppy group, and then people start dying and it gets intense and there's like explosions and crazy shit. It's good. It's a really good cult movie. And it's It's not a total camp fest. It's definitely got some drama to it. But I'm just a big fan of it, and it just hasn't had a nice release for so long that I was just, and I also kind of love the way that they did their announcement, which was just like, hey, it's available now. You know, everybody else was doing Black Friday, you know, pre-sale or sort of teasing Black Friday stuff. And they're like, here's our Massacre, buy it now. And I did right away. And it came really quick too, by the way. So $46, I understand that's a lot of money, but know that you're spending that money to not only help them do more good stuff, but you're also getting like a Cadillac release of a really interesting cult film. So,
I've never seen a movie be a steelbook and have a slipcover. So that is like driving a Cadillac almost.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they've done that before, Aaron. I could be wrong. I feel like they've done a slip over a steel book before, but I'm maybe thinking, I don't know. I'll have to look at my collection now. I'm not sure. But I love the steelbook with the slip on it. It's nice.
It is.
It's my most sought after release.
What's that?
That is
My most sought after release.
It's got a great, the other thing I didn't mention, it's got a great documentary. It's about, I want to say it's about 45 minutes, but they're talking to most of the living actors that are in the film. The director has since passed away, but they have an audio interview with the director that functions as a commentary, or at least about a 30-minute commentary that it doesn't run the full length of the movie. But you get some good extras with it too. So not only is it a great restoration, but they got some nice extras. And I just really love this movie. I'm since we talked about it, Aaron, I've dug into it more and I like it even more. So
it's fantastic. I need that release.
So I'm gonna be like Aaron, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna give you two of my favorite releases from the same company. Nice. One of them is gonna be my favorite single edition of a movie, and one's my favorite box set. So after I saw Aaron did that, I shut the camera off and hurried up and grabbed the single version because I was like, all right, I'm gonna cheat too. This is the newest release. This is Versus.
Oh,
so Versus is a cult action flick from Japan. It's got everything that you could possibly want from an action movie. There is zombies. The zombies use guns and have swords.
whoa.
There are Japanese gangsters. There's kung fu. There's a lot of sword fights. There's time travel. There's a lot in this movie. This movie came out the year after The Matrix, and it's very much in that same vein where like something about the 99 to like 2003 when movies came out just visually don't age well. Like I used to want to wear a trench coat, you know, but like now it's like things like this, The Matrix, Blade, Equilibrium. You just like they all look cheesy, and this is one of my favorite action movies. Like if I had to make a top 5, this is probably number 1 or number 2, right behind Heat. It's tied with Heat for me. But you gotta know this is a cheesy movie. Like they almost had zero dialogue. The budget was $10,000.
Whoa.
So yeah, so zero budget. But what they were able to pull off is incredible. And then 4 years later, Tak Sakaguchi, who is the lead in this film, went back with the original cast and shot some new action scenes that he like choreographed, and it fits so perfectly. So you get, you know, on the first disc you get Versus, and then the second one you get Ultimate Versus, which is the second film it's the same film, they just added new scenes, and they actually explain some stuff. Like there's a scene in the first movie, in the original, where a guy just has a guy who is broken out of prison has a handcuffed to his arm. It's like someone's hands cut off, and they never address it. They never talk about it until 4 years later, they go in and they like explain that piece. Super 90s, like the main character finds someone's glasses and he puts them on, and there's like a guitar riff that's like like because it's so badass and so edgy. I love this movie. It's a pure joy. It's I tried to get my wife to watch it, and I read her the back right here. I'll just briefly read this, but I was like, a relentless, one of a kind sensory assault, chock full of hyperkinetic fight scenes, gangster shootouts, sword slashing violence, and gory zombie horror. Versus was a key title amongst a barrage of innovative horror and action movies that appeared as of if from nowhere. and at the turn of the millennium and leading a new wave of appreciation for Asian extreme cinema. There's also 2 more paragraphs I'm not going to read, but when I read her the full thing, she goes, "Wow, that sounds really stupid," and honestly, it is. In the first printing has a great book by Tom Mess. I mean, you have Japanese guys holding giant 50 caliber sniper rifles, and they actually make fun of the Matrix. And I thought that they were going to. There's a scene where the guy shoots the 50 caliber sniper, and one of the guys goes to do the bullet dodge, and you think, okay, another bullet dodge, but then when he stands up, he was too early, and the bullet hits him, and he just explodes. So super violent, super gory, almost no CG, all practical effects. I love it. I think it's the best single release Arrow has done this year.
Wow.
It's just, I recommend it. I feel like Aaron, you in particular would love this movie.
Oh yeah, it sounds like something I'd like double feature with Raw Force.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There are some people are having issues with the second disc with the color grading, but Arrow put out a statement that like this is just how the guy who directed the movie wanted it to look. He went on to direct Godzilla Final Wars. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. That's probably his big thing that he's done.
I love Godzilla Final Wars.
It's so crazy and fun. But there's a really good I don't want to say there's a documentary. There's like 3 commentaries on the first disc. And then there is a visual essay about how this movie helped usher in like all the Ichi the Killer, Audition, all these crazy Japanese movies that we are our cult favorites now. This kind of helped push those to the forefront. So I would recommend this. And then this is the box set that got me looking at Arrow. This is my favorite director of all time. This is an amazing set. And we're talking about Solid Metal Nightmares, the films of Shinya Tsukamoto. So this is 10 movies. 10, yeah. It's Tetsuo the Iron Man, Tetsuo 2, Adventures of Denshu Kozo, Tokyo Fist, Bullet Ballet, Snake of June, Vital, Haze, Kotoko, and The Killing. Incredible. And like they're in like these double billings. So like you'll get like, Tetsuo 1 and 2, and then the reverse will be the other movie's artwork. It comes with a hardbound book and a poster. And while this isn't a complete list of Tsukamoto's works, on one of the commentaries on here, it was noted that Shinya Tsukamoto owns the rights to all of his films. So the ones that are missing from the set, but one of them you can get is Gemini, which is by Mondo Macabre, I believe is who put that out here in the States. We're missing Tetsuo 3, we're missing Nightmare Detective 1 and 2, and we're missing The Goblin, which are like the like the 4-ish that are just off the top of my head that aren't included. But the thing I love about Shinya Tsukamoto is that he writes and directs and stars in most of his films. So he is just a everyman. And have you two seen Tetsuo?
That's the first one I ever saw by him.
Brian, you are in for a treat if you ever see Tetsuo, man. It is.
I heard of it. I know of it, but I just haven't yet.
It is a crazy, crazy movie. And then his newest film is on here from 2018, The Killing, which is a samurai movie. And it's a very kind of like a slow burn samurai movie, but then at the end has a very intense shaky cam scene. A lot of his movies, I feel like he just holds the camera because a lot of them get crazy. Aaron, I'm sure that you can, attest to that. Tetsuo is like all over the place and it's just very shaky and violent. The Killing goes from being like a very slow burn, samurai movie, of like a really deep character piece, and then the end. You feel like you're right there with the lead actor having like a panic attack. My favorite movie on the set is probably either Tokyo Fist or Bullet or Bullet Ballet. But yeah, I don't think he can do any wrong. I think this is the best box set in my opinion of the year. And I love it. I'm really glad that Arrow put this out because one, it caught my attention. I was like, I have to have that. And then looking at their backlog, I was like, oh my God, they have, the Battles Without Honor and Humanity series. They have, the Vengeance trilogy, the Female Prisoner Scorpion. I was like, oh my God. So now they have become my favorite label, which will go into who do you guys think won 2020?
Aaron, what do you think?
I want to go last this time. I'm going to let you guys go first this time.
Okay, Brian, you go first.
All right. Like I said, my list doesn't reflect it, but I'm going to go Arrow.
Yep.
Because I have a bunch right here, like Flash Gordon.
Oh yeah, I didn't even touch
Amazing.
on the 4Ks. King of New York and
Yeah, I have Crash and King of New York on the way. I don't have those yet. But then just stuff like Last Starfighter, Silent Running, After Midnight is actually a really nice Region B release of not just After Midnight, the film from Jeremy Gardner and what's his name, Christian Stella, but it also has the battery, like basically the full disc you bought when you bought the battery from Scream Factory is the second disc on this. Anyway, so there's those. I have Tremors on the way. I guess I thought my delay through the December 29th is when I'm getting mine was big, but I'm hearing people say they're not getting their Tremors 4K till February. So that if you're getting it from Amazon, I mean, I should have got it from somebody else, but I had a gift card. But I know I'm going to love that 4K. So when you put all that together, Arrow's 4Ks this year, Pitch Black was great.
Black was great, and my favorite's been King of New York. I think that was great.
Can't wait.
I need that one.
It looks so good. I'll just go ahead and piggyback off that. My company is definitely Arrow.
I knew it would be, so I'm sorry.
They are just, God, man, this year, off the top of my head, my favorite thing that surprised me is probably Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. It is, I can't even explain. So it's about these people who hack into into a virtual reality world where everything is stop. It's like stop motion. It's really bizarre. The writing is great. The characters are awesome. It's just amazing. And then also Lake Michigan Monster just came out a couple months ago. It's another low budget, black and white horror comedy. It's so awesome. Like I absolutely loved it. The Deeper You Dig, which is another low budget horror movie that was directed and written by a mom, a dad, and a daughter. So like a family trio. And then just looking, like I showed earlier, the Matt Fox versus this year has just been incredible for Arrow. And it's funny. I've said this before, but I'll tell you guys, when you see Criterion announce something, no matter what it is, it's always, this is the greatest release. This is the greatest movie in cinema. Like I'll do like my Trump impression. This is the greatest movie of all time. Every time Criterion announces something, and then because of Arrow's history of being like mostly a horror, label, every time they announce anything that's not horror, you get fans in the comments going, "Oh, another crap year or another crap month." And it's like, I think this year has been amazing. Inferno of Torture by Turo Ishii, which is a director who did a lot of like sexploitation movies. Inferno of Torture is great. So yeah, I think
even their slasher stuff, like their Jose Larraz stuff, like Edge of the Axe.
Yeah,
is one of my favorite releases of the year, and a movie I knew about, but I didn't discover until that Blu-ray this year, and I love that Blu-ray. So they've been doing all kinds of obscure slashers, Prey and Deadly Manor. And
was Cinema of Conflict this year, or was that last year? That's the I can't pronounce his name. The director of the Colors trilogy that Criterion put out, Andrei Kieslowski.
Oh yeah,
Krzysztof Kieslowski.
Krzysztof Kieslowski. They did a box set of his movies. I don't know if that was this year, next or last year, and then they did Cinema Obscura, which is another box set. This year has been incredible for Arrow. But yeah, they're definitely my favorite label of all time, hands down.
They're pretty great. They're killing it right now.
That's it. See, I'm the dissenting voice because, ironically, I kind of let you guys know what my favorite company was this for 2020 at the beginning of the video.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. It's Arrow.
Nothing beats this baby. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite releases that came out this year.
Nice.
Wow, all three.
There is so much. Like it is loaded with just about everything.
Commentaries on every movie too.
Oh, pardon?
Oh, that's got commentaries on almost every film, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, like what's really neat about this is, and I'm sure this is something that you appreciate, is that when the set was announced, because there were different like dubs of the film, people asked because like in the Godzilla set, some were, a lot of them are subtitled, some are dubbed and that. So when the Gamma set was coming out, they're like, so are they going to have the like the regular ones? Are they going to have the English dub? Are they going to have this, the Sandy Frank ones? And The answer was yes, all of them. And that kind of blew my mind. That they just, and it was amazing. And it's been an incredible year from through. Flash Gordon, which is my better half's one of her favorite films of all time, and one that I truly love. They put together 4K for that one that in what I've heard rivals the Blue Underground stuff.
It's amazing.
And it's just so incredibly well done. So they killed it. They came out with the 4K releases. They did amazing with those. Every box set that they put out this year, many that I want that I don't have, they were just not only were they good, but they were eclectic and they were different. And there was a little bit there for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you have everything from like Shinya Tsukamoto to the brand new Mura box set, which is a little bit more highbrow.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's just Hiroshima, which is like a very gruesome look at that. So you're getting these highbrow films, you're getting cult classics, you're getting gangster movies, just so many great things from Arrow. I think that's why I love them so much, is that they put out great Western movies, they put out great Japanese movies, they put out great slashers and giallo movies. It's just like it just check marks for me everything I love about films. It's Arrow, and I can't wait to see they teased the 36 Chambers, so I'm hoping we get some Shaw Brothers. Like a box set would be incredible.
I'm expecting a Nightmare Detective 1 and 2. I'm expecting them to do that.
Aaron, if they do a Solid Metal Nightmares Part 2 with Tetsuo 3 and then those two, I will die a happy man. I think that would be great, because we never got Nightmare Detective 2. We never got that movie, and that movie is really good. I think the first movie is also criminally underrated as well. But yeah, that would be an amazing release. Incredible. So Arrow wins
Apparently everything.
our award. Just everything. I mean, and this is why I wanted to have you two on, because there was no overlapping at all between the three of us, which I was actually very surprised about. So, and thank you guys for joining me. You guys have been amazing. This has been a lot of fun.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I've got a blast, man.
We should do this again relatively soon, once the holidays are over and hopefully 2021 is better for all of us. So, do you guys want to plug anything?
I don't know, Aaron. What do you got?
What have I got to plug? Just Call the Cinema channel. Check it out. I do a Patreon called Crimson Cult, and I do a lot of like shorter, more structured videos there, as opposed to my free-flowing live streams that I do,
Which are
on
amazing.
a regular basis on my regular channel. Those two. That's basically what I got going right now. And hopefully sometime in the new year, I'm looking at like February, March, I'm hopefully going to start a podcast, but I'm going to do something different with the format. So I'm working on that.
Love it. I can't wait, man. And I am a member of Aaron's Patreon, and I can attest that the content is as great as you would think it would be if you follow his channel. So definitely do that. Mine is just the YouTube channel and the podcast, Just the Dis and Pure Cinema. Those are my main focus. Those three things is like basically what I watch movies for all the time now. Is I'm watching for one of those three things.
Which, by the way, all of them are great. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. So, and then like Aaron, I'm planning on starting a podcast hopefully by January, February, where I was telling Brian about this, where I'm going to take a Eastern movie and a Western movie and pair them together and talk about them.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, so that is it, guys. Thanks for joining us. An hour and a half, lots of good Blu-ray talks. All of us have different eclectic tastes and a lot of great stuff. So thank you guys, and go sub to Aaron and go sub to Brian, and I'll be back next time.